if they could get 25 to 30% of the age group going to a higher education, I think that's a very good target for the future. Right now, it's 5% or less.
Yeah.
Extremely low.
Mrs. Sawyer, you know this rote system thing we talk about. I mean, when people try to assess education in Ghana, in schools and so on, I mean, part of the difficulty, people say why we have difficulties, people are just taught to chew and pour and pass and forget and just, but also people are just taught the kids are taught to repeat things without really understanding what they mean. Is that a problem?
It is a problem in some instances, yes. And I think it's partly because of the training that teachers have. If you've been taught that way, it's the most obvious method and you will use it in your experience. It's also because there may be a lack of materials. If you are teaching science and you don't have any materials, you don't have an opportunity to do any experiments, the easiest thing is just to give notes, to write notes. And I found that this was a method that was used in private schools as well. I can give you an interesting example about teaching by rote from my own experiences as a former principal. When we first introduced computers into the Ghana International School in the early 90s, and we prepared a syllabus, I noticed that the first part of the syllabus was going to be taken by teaching the theory of computers for about 2 weeks. What is a computer? What are all the parts? What is the theory?
What is that for?
What's the history? And I said, stop. No, this is not what we're going to do. We're going to get kids onto the computer and they're going to start typing immediately. And you only teach the theory as and when it is absolutely essential for the use of the computer.
We like to do the other way around, but as you say...
Yes, but it's so either
easier.
It's easier or it's deemed to be the correct method is to teach
but I think
2
that's the
weeks
danger.
worth or 3 weeks or a month's worth of theory before anybody gets to the hands-on approach.
Yes, you see there's a key point there, Mrs. Sawyer. You say either or is deemed to be the method.
Yes.
If it's happening because of a lack of resources, that's one thing.
Yeah.
You can plug it in that
Yeah.
sense. But if it's happening because it's deemed to be the way to do
I
it,
think
that's more challenging, isn't it?
It's part of the problem that it seemed to that they think that's the correct approach because that's how they
think it's the correct
teachers were
approach.
taught.
But how can that be?
Yeah.
So where are the teachers trained? The teachers that teach these kids that
Well,
we're talking about.
at the basic level, the primary level, they go through the teacher training colleges. And this is where they were getting certificate A training, and now they're trying to upgrade them into diploma awarding institutions so that it will be a higher qualification. JSS, many of the teachers being recruited are graduates. Some are diploma holders, but I think ultimately they will all be graduates because they're supposed to be specialists. You're supposed to have science teachers and math teachers and language teachers.
Yeah, but we have all these people, and we still
have them. We don't have enough of them in the deprived areas. There's a shortfall right now of 17,000 teachers in the basic system. That's in the public basic system. That's a big problem. 17,000 teachers needed. The training colleges are not turning out enough.
Needed for schools
for schools in the whole country. I'm talking about public basic schools. That's a big shortfall.
What you described, this lack of resources, this whole thing. I mean, I have this same argument would fit perfectly well 20 years ago, and maybe a little later on. What? Any solutions? What is it? Cash? Is cash a big part of it? This is what I want to understand.
Cash is a problem, but there's political will as well.
That's what I want to understand.
I think that when governments realize that education is key to the future of the country, they can find more money. They may not find enough, but they can find more.
You mean they don't know that?
They know it, but the political will is a complicated issue. And, politicians have their own way of doing things. I'm not a politician, so I can't speak for politicians, but I know that political will is very important.
But countries must have also got leaders. These are not politicians. It's not for politicians. We're leaders.
Well,
to take the place.
Yes, leadership is very important, and I think that leaders have different ideas as well.
So you really think there are leaders who don't truly appreciate that?
They do.
In this country, for example, Mrs. Sawyer, the education budget is huge. So sometimes it is relatively compared to other areas. They throw money at it all the time.
It's huge, but as a percent of the recurrent budget, it's not big enough. It needs to go up a few points. A few points will make a big difference.
There's wastage.
There's wastage.
Plenty of wastage. You don't need more money. You need to
manage
what you have better.
And you need to manage it well. And nobody will deny that.
But who's going to give you more? When you say you need more, you need to manage it well. When they give you, you don't manage it well, you need more. You manage it well, and then you come for more.
Well,
you don't do them together.
This is a catch-22, which we may not be able to solve
everything
very easily. But certainly more money is needed. A few more percentage points of the recurrent budget should go into education at all levels. Basics, SS, and tertiary.
And we churn out people who can't find jobs. Why are we going to school?
We're not just going to school
for jobs.
That's right. And it's not necessarily the job of schools to prepare people to walk right into a job. And I think the employer must take some responsibility for training. I think we forget that. We think that when someone leaves the university or JSS or SS, he's ready to go into a factory or ready to go into a corporation.
Yeah, but it's the student. I'm talking about the mindset of the person doing it, not necessarily the employer. I mean, that's what people think. That
it's wrong.
Yes,
it's wrong.
It is.
Education is there to give people the basic skills that they need to then learn to apply these in the workforce. And the employer must take responsibility for training the person for the specific job that he's going to do, whether it's at a factory level where you have a JSS leaver or an SS leaver, whether it's a big corporation, multinational, local, whatever. They have to give the person the training. But the person must get the skills at the school level, the skills in language, in mathematics, in science, in reasoning, in thinking, whatever.
Mr. Sawyer, let's talk about teachers. I mean, ultimately, they are the ones that fashion these children. We spoke a little earlier about the training colleges and the limitations and so on. But really, what is the way forward with teachers?
Difficult question. One of the problems is that entering a teacher training college for students is usually a last option. If they don't get into a university,
then
they don't get into a polytechnic, they end up in the teacher training college. So they have the lowest, generally, there may be exceptions, lowest passing grades for tertiary education. They've even talked about lowering the grade in English language for candidates because with a D as the minimum grade for SS, they cannot always fill all the places. So they were even thinking of making it an E grade. So that gives you an idea of one of the problems, not getting the best caliber of students. It's not a first choice for many students, it's a last choice. And many of them go into education, not all. I mean, there are some very dedicated teachers, and I think they deserve to be commended and certainly supported, recognized.
How can we make it a first choice?
Remuneration, motivation, these are
if people
money talks,
like the way everybody's going into banks now, everybody wants to work for banks.
Let's not fool ourselves. Good remuneration is a way of attracting teachers. Somebody cited the example of Vietnam because they had a shortage of teachers in the rural areas. And they said they were going to pay 70% more of your basic salary if you went to a rural area.
We've got all kinds of incentives for rural areas.
And they had a stampede of people willing to go to the remotest areas in the country.
Yeah, but we've done some of that.
We've tried, but the package is not attractive enough.
It's bicycles and
bicycle
small
and a ghetto blaster when there's no electricity.